Okay, it is really early on a Saturday morning, and I started to mix my sourdough together, and then I remembered my mom, when I was talking to her yesterday, requested I make a video because she would love to see how I make it because I enjoy it so much. So I've added 1 1/3 cup of warm water. I believe this is a 60% hydration recipe that is easy for beginners. And then I added a 1/2 cup of my sourdough starter for this recipe. And then I mix it all together with this great, I think it's called a Dutch whisk. Just ordered it on Amazon for when I am making this bread. It actually works fantastic. I love it. And then this recipe calls for 2 teaspoons salt. I am not going to do exact measurements, honestly. Like, I just grabbed a teaspoon out of the drawer. Okay, so I added my salt. I don't have one of those phone holders to record this as I'm doing stuff. And next I am going to add 4 cups of flour. I went to a local store yesterday and I picked up this organic light bread flour. So I'm going to see how it works for my sourdough. Hopefully it'll be my best loaf yet. This is only loaf number 4, by the way, but I really do enjoy making this. So I'm going to go ahead and add those 4 cups of flour. Okay, here's my 4 cups of flour. A lot of people might be wondering why I am measuring in cups and not grams. And that is because I do not have a kitchen scale. And there seems to be all these rules with sourdough and how exact your measurements need to be. And you must use a kitchen scale and measure out the grams perfectly. I am not one of those people, but I do need to hold my bowl. So I'm going to continue measuring this, or not measuring, mixing early morning. And I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done mixing it together. Okay, so I have mixed my dough together till it turns into this shaggy blob. I see a lot of videos where people use this awesome scraper to get the sides of their bowl, and they get absolutely all the dough off, and it looks super neat and clean. I try. I can't do that. So my bowl is a mess. That's fine. And it looks really shaggy right now. That's fine. I think that's how it's supposed to look. Downside to these whisks, they are a bugger to clean, but they do a fantastic job. Next, now that my salt, my flour, my starter, and my water are all mixed together, like, this is such an easy recipe. I have it memorized already. I'm going to cover it up with a tea towel, and I'm going to put it in my oven with the light on for 15 minutes to a half an hour. Really, I don't follow too many of those rules. I get around doing stuff and then I'll get to it when I get to it. Tea towel is clean, by the way. It's just stained. I have a family. I live in my home. Just how it is. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this in my oven with the light on just to keep it warm because it is wintertime. My house is kind of cool. And I'll come back and then we'll do some stretch and folds. Okay, I forgot to record my first set of stretch and folds. So I will show you and explain how I do it now. First, I waited about 20 minutes before I did it the first time, just to fit it into my schedule. I'm not working into the sourdough schedule. And to prevent the dough from sticking to my hands, I take a spray bottle and soak my hands. We want our dough hydrated anyway, so I figure there's nothing wrong with using some water instead of flour. And then we're going to grab our dough, pull it up, and fold it over. And turn the bowl, grab our dough, stretch it up, and fold it over. Can you see what I'm doing there? Yeah. So between my last set of stretch and folds and this one, I waited about 40 minutes. And as we're doing these stretch and folds, it's my understanding it strengthens the gluten inside the bread. I'm new, so I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that's what it does. And I'm just starting to stick, so a little bit more water. Some recipes call for these stretch and folds to do it for 10 minutes. I'm not going to do it for 10 minutes. Some recipes I've seen say just to go around the bowl. Once you've gone all the way around, it's good. I'm just gonna do it till I like the consistency of my dough. And as I'm doing this, like, I don't know what you can see there. The dough is becoming much more dough-like. It is not shaggy whatsoever. It's starting to look beautiful. Put that back and not drop it. So I'm definitely not going to do this for 10 minutes. I'm just going to do it until I like the consistency of my dough, which is basically what it is at right now. And then I'm going to cover it with my tea towel again, and I'm going to put it back in the oven for about another 30 minutes, or whenever I get to it. Could be a little bit earlier, could be a little bit sooner. I'm just putting it in the oven with the light on, just again to keep it warm and get the yeast activated and like growing. Okay, so this is going to be the last round of stretch and folds. You can see the dough looks very nice. I'm going to spray down my hands, not use flour. Fine flour just makes a mess, and I don't want to clean up more of a mess. And the water stops the dough from sticking to my hands. So I'm going to do one last round of stretch and folds. And then I'm going to let this bulk ferment inside the oven to keep it warm with the light on for about 3 hours. And then after that, I will shape it, let it ferment some more. But like, this dough is just looking so nice. Like, you can feel the difference in making this, going from your first set of stretch and folds to your last. There's massive difference in the dough. This is so much stronger. It's trying to stick to my hands, so I'm gonna call it quits here on the stretch and folds. I'm just gonna put my tea towel back on, put it in the oven for about 3 hours at room temperature. All right, yes, it is working. Okay, so my dough has been proofing in the oven with the light on for a few hours, and it looks like it's ready to just plop right out of the bowl, which is part of the reason why I know it's ready to shape. And again, instead of flour, I'm just spraying my countertop with water. Mommy? Sourdough is a well-hydrated bread anyway, so I feel like I can't hurt it by adding a little bit more water. Okay, so there's my dough out on the counter. It's looking pretty wet, which is fine. Sourdough is a sticky, wet dough. Okay, so to shape it, we're getting a good view here, kind of. I'm gonna like stretch it out, kind of. Almost make it into a rectangle. There are many different ways of shaping sourdough, but this is the way I have tried it, and I have had 3 successful loaves, and I've only made 3, so this is what I'm doing. So basically I got it out in this rectangle, and then I'm gonna fold it in on itself. Okay, and fold it in on itself. And then I'm gonna grab it like this and pull away and roll it forward. It kind of creates tension in the dough, and we want the tension in the dough. It helps like create all those great air pockets, and I can feel myself popping bubbles right now as I'm shaping. But that's fine. It is absolutely fine, because we'll cold proof it and it'll do its thing. And then we end up with this like blob, this big blob. And with the dough scraper, I'm gonna go under and pull it back. And I'm still trying to get the hang of this, so don't make fun of me here. And you know what? Sometimes it's easier to use my hands. So I'll tuck everything under and pull it back towards myself. And tuck under and pull everything back towards myself. Out and under. Kind of is a continuous process. But every time I pull out and come back, I feel more tension in the top of that loaf. So out and back. I don't know how people do this with the bread scraper. I keep trying, but like it doesn't really work for me. But wash my hands and then can you see the bubbles in the top? Like, do you see that? That's part of the way I know this is going to be an excellent loaf. Just because I can see the air pockets. I can feel the bubbles. I'm new, but I watched a million videos. And I'm starting to know, like, the science behind it and how this all works. Okay, so I'm going to wash my hands and get a hand free. And then I'll show you how I put this into the banneton. I also need to grab some flour because I need flour this thing. Okay, so now I put my sourdough into the banneton and I put it that soft side down. And then this was the underleaf of the dough. There is like a stitching method where you can like pull it over on itself and make it look like it's got like stitches on the bottom. But kind of like that-ish. I've tried this with a loaf or two. I've done my first one without it. I didn't really notice much of a difference. And now I'm going to put that tea towel back on. And I'm going to have it cold proof in my fridge for about 3 hours. And to help the hydration of my loaf so my fridge does not dry it out, I'm just going to spray the top of this tea towel with water. And then I'm going to put it in there and forget about it for a few hours while I do other things. I got a few things on the go today. I'm also canning potatoes. And I'm going to make some fruit roll-up for the kids in the dehydrator. It has been about 4 hours since I put the dough in the fridge to proof. Looks really nice, actually. Okay, and that's how you can tell that it's pretty well ready to bake. If you poke it and it springs back, slowly, not quickly, but like it comes back, it's slowly coming back up. That's how you can tell that it is proofed enough to bake. I'm going to let this come to room temperature before I put it in the Dutch oven. So currently I have my oven on convection cook and I'm preheating it to 450 degrees with the Dutch oven inside because I want that thing hot too. So hopefully by the time my oven is preheated, this will get to room temperature, and then I will show you what I do when I put it in the oven. Okay, so I almost forgot one of the most important steps. Before this thing can go in the oven, we need to score it and make it look beautiful. So I'm just gonna get out a little razor blade. And this is a bread sling. So it will help me get my bread into the fold. Get out. No, you didn't stick, did you? You were so nice. I've never had this stick before. Ah. Okay, you're starting to let go. Good, 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 good. Maybe I should have let it proof a little longer? Or maybe I didn't need to let it get to room temperature. I don't know. Because typically I just throw it right in, and I've read and seen things saying it's best to get to room temperature. So that's what I was going to do today. But maybe I shouldn't have. Anyway. Didn't destroy the look of my bread too bad. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Okay, so I am going to score this loaf. I'm going to go from top down to the bottom. And I might even put a little wheat stock over here. We'll see how it turns out when it comes out of the oven. Last one I did was pretty beautiful. Okay, so that is that. It has been scored, and that score will help the loaf expand and it'll help it rise. I just put my loaf into my preheated Dutch oven, in my preheated oven that is set to 450 degrees. I'll let it cook like that for 45 minutes, and then I will remove the lid of the Dutch oven and reduce the temperature to 425 and bake for an additional 20 minutes. I ideally want the inside temperature of the bread sitting around 205 degrees, possibly 210, and then it should be done. When I pull it out of the oven, I will show you what it looks like. Hopefully it's beautiful like the other loaves I've made. We'll just have to wait and see. Till then, I'm going to sit down and enjoy some coffee. Okay, so after all that hard work, this is my loaf. It is the first one I have ever had that did not rise. I am not sure why, but I'm going to keep this one for myself. I was going to give it to my mother-in-law, but I will bake her another one. The only thing I did different was I used bread flour instead of all-purpose flour. And I let it get to room temperature after taking it out of the fridge. So I'll make another one, see how it goes. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Hopefully the next one rises better.